All right, guys. So it is January 4th of 2021. This is our first business talk after hours for the new year. I guess we're all hoping that it's a better year than it was last year, right, guys?
Definitely.
So we have a special guest, thanks to Mr. Trevor Anderson this morning. We have a former NFL player coming on today who's also an entrepreneur and a businessman. And I'm excited to have him on. So I'm Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a business attorney in Clark, New Jersey. And I'll let you guys introduce yourself, and then we'll bring the our special guest on the show. Mike, you want to go?
Sounds great. Happy New Year, everyone. Michael Manella, wealth advisor at Merrill Lynch. Run a wealth management practice in Red Bank, New Jersey. Focuses around financial planning, helping clients plan for life events. Welcome.
Cool. Hey, everybody. I'm Trevor Anderson. So I am an entrepreneur. I own a consulting firm that specializes in finance and operational consulting for small businesses and startups. I also am a co-owner of an event marketing company and also a dedicated athlete network that's in the running for 2021.
All right. Well, that sounds good. I guess that's a good segue into our guest for this morning. Trevor, why don't you introduce Reggie, and I will bring him on the show. You want to mention a few things about him first?
Well, I guess so. Reggie Walker is a former football player. He played for a couple of teams. I think he's got a very interesting career, and I think he's going to be a real interesting person to speak to. I'll let him kind of discuss his background and go through some of his, his path.
Okay, let's bring him on the show.
Perfect.
Here he comes. Reggie.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Welcome to Business Talk. So Trevor was saying a few things about you, but they were all good, by the way. We're all nice.
Oh, great.
But maybe you want to introduce yourself and give us a little background about you and, where you're from originally and your history in the NFL, things like that. And then we'll get into our fun discussion here this morning.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool. So a little background on me. I am a ex-NFL player and captain. I do a lot of advocacy work for mental, physical, sexual abuse victims and survivors and their families. I'm currently a consultant, business owner, entrepreneur. I do a lot of different things at this stage in my life. I would sit there and say that mostly the thing that I do at this point is probably get deals and help people get deals.
Great.
That's literally what my job is. It's fun. It forces me to be creative, and I'm just glad because it's something that I do with one of my best friends in the whole world and two of the best mentors that we probably could have ever found.
And so, you retired from the league in what, 15? So you've been out doing this about 5 years?
Yeah. No, I actually have been doing this in a shorter time. Well, as far as having a title doing it, I would say a year. But it's something I've been doing on and off for years. Now it's actually kind of a weird thing that what I do.
Okay.
And how I do it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm looking
forward. But I've been out since 2015. Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. Mm-hmm. Where are you located, by the way? Where are you calling in from today?
In Kansas.
Kansas City?
I live in Kansas City. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay. So that means you're a Chiefs fan now?
No.
Oh man.
No, sir.
All right. Well,
I'm more of a fan of certain players than any of the teams. To be real, I don't even watch it that much anymore.
Yeah, well, you were in the middle of it. Well, Trevor, Reggie's your guest, so why don't you moderate the discussion?
Why don't I start it off? So, Reggie, I think maybe for our viewers and for everybody, why don't we talk about what drove you into football? Well, we'll start there, and then I think we'll talk about your career a bit, and then we'll talk about what you're doing now a little bit more with some of the things we're kind of collaborating on and everybody else. So why don't we talk about what drove you to football first, maybe? I don't even know.
Okay. What drove me to football was I guess I would say that I was a crazy mixed up kid. I was trying to figure some things out. I had a lot of energy. Football was just something that fascinated me. I love the fact that you could just be the most violent person that you could think of, and it was encouraged. And I had so much anger, and but at the same time, I loved it. I loved the skill involved, and I've always been a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. So football was something that was very good for me. We just meshed very well.
Wow,
Meshed very well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think about like, so it's interesting. So you hear about the stories of how you get into football, and it's a regimented thing, right? So people that do well in business and succeed, just personally, I think have like a great deal of inner drive. And I think a lot of football players do, at least the ones I've spoken to, especially you. So, like one of the things I think about as we shape this around business is, did you kind of, as you first got in, were you started to think about business, or did that kind of happen? Like where did that kind of intersection happen? Did it happen into your career a bit? I know you changed a couple of teams, so that's kind of interesting in itself.
Me getting into business was something that I definitely did not see myself getting into at all. I'm kind of one of those guys that just kind of goes wherever takes me. As that sounds, but where it's something that I kind of just dumbed myself into, just stumbled into. Really, I was doing a lot of advocacy work, and I was meeting a lot of people, and I already knew a lot of people from my time in the NFL. And one of the things that I caught was I just kept hearing the same things over and over again. Like, man, if I just had this, or man, I really wish I knew someone who had that, or I wish I could talk to that person. And you would hear all the time. And I would always think in my mind, well, I could probably get that for him, or I know that.
Yeah, you know that person, right?
I could probably talk to that person,
right?
And then realizing that you could actually make something out of it has just been pretty amazing to me. I just stumbled into it, and I really stumbled into it was just helping a friend out. They said, "Hey, I need a resource or two for this. Do you happen to know someone?" They kind of asked me, do you know somebody for this? And I was like, well, yeah, and I have nothing to do, so let me go ahead and see if I can find this for you. And it took me less than 20 minutes, and then they gave me a little piece of change, and I was like, maybe there's something here.
Yeah, making deals. So, were these guys in the NFL, or they were outside the league? They're just other guys you knew?
Outside the league. Because one of the things that I realized is with the whole NFL thing, it is what it is. It's either that I can talk to the person directly that I need to talk to, or I'm one person away from the person that I need to talk to. Yeah. And it's just so much easier for me to get in contact with people than just a regular Joe Schmo. And that's valuable, apparently. Yeah. But yeah, so I would just say I'm really more of a glorified middleman. I am a middleman.
I think we're all middlemen too sometimes, right, Reggie? I mean, one of the things I've always found interesting with inside that network, right? So I can speak personally. Like I have a great conversation with you. I think we've become a little bit of friends over the last few months, and one of the things I found is hard as a barrier, maybe not a barrier to entry, but there's a lot of opportunities and deals happening with inside of different networks, and sometimes having that level in or that first contact in makes a huge difference. Being able to speak to somebody, oh, well, I speak to Reggie. Oh, well, then maybe there's an opportunity. I think it's all about integrity and trust with inside that network. I think it's the most important thing. And, I'd be curious how it works with kind of like your fellow colleagues while you're in the league. I'm sure there's, as Mitch alluded to, there's obviously money to be made with inside of professional sports. I mean, how did you see that happen a lot with regards to deals happening? And then was it, hey, am I doing a lot of deals, or am I working a lot? Like, was it how did you balance the two? Or was it like one side versus the other for you?
I would say as far as deals getting done, very few. Just to put a little context on it, you're really in a situation where you're in a den of snakes. to be completely blunt and honest about it. You can't really trust people as far as you can throw them. And as far as getting deals done, if you don't have that real trusted person that's kind of proven themselves, you're really more trying to protect yourself than anything. You're playing defense a lot.
Yeah.
You're playing defense a lot. But as far as a lot of the deals that I got, it was all after I got done.
Yeah,
Really?
but there's not a lot of discussion like in the league, like what's after football. That guys don't really talk about that stuff. Like, what are you going to do after football? I mean, you get one injury, right? You could be out of the league, but you know, I don't know. Is that a big part of life in professional sports, or do these guys really just kind of they play hard and you know they make what they can and that's their job, and then they don't know what to do afterward?
Yeah, mostly it is that. They bust their ass, try to save as much money, and try to put it towards something while they're playing. But most of their time is given towards just being the best football player that they can. You have somewhat some business knowledge, or they get in touch with the right person and they put their money somewhere else. But for the most part, it's a lot of people trying to save, a lot of people who just really don't know business that well, or finances that well. But you also have to understand too, most of their time has been in football. When you're in college, it's a full-time job. You have no time to think. And then when you go to NFL, it's a situation where the more time I can spend honing my craft, the better it is going to be for me long term. So you really don't have time for a lot of other things. If you don't come into the situation with business knowledge, or your parents knew, or you had that mentor, you're just not going to know.
Right. When you went to K-State, right?
Yes, I did.
Did you major in business there or no?
No, I majored in history for 3 years, and then I changed it to family studies and human services because I thought about doing a social work thing, and then I ended up just finishing it in sociology. But
you did finish. You didn't go to the league early.
No.
Oh, that's good.
No, I didn't finish while I was in college. No.
Oh, you finished afterward.
I had to go back and finish. I had a semester left.
That's another problem, I guess, in professional sports. You go into professional sports, you don't finish college, and a lot of people don't go back and get a degree, and they're going to need it later in life. It makes it easier, makes things easier.
Oh yeah, it definitely makes things easier. But when it's a tough situation when they're asking you, what do you want to major in, what do you want to do when you grow up? I'm like, I want to play football.
Right.
Right. Oh, I know. I want to play football.
What are you talking about? Right. Exactly.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's my thing. And then they're saying like, okay, so what's something else you could do? I'm like, I don't know. Ever since I was 5 years old, all I've wanted to do is one thing.
Right.
I haven't really thought about anything else, but that's like all other guys.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
But
it's a lot of people
to be that way to make it though.
Yeah, I guess, right? You got to be focused. You got to be a maniac about it. Or, it's a very small top of the pyramid getting into pro sports. So do you remember? Yeah. So I know you do deals, but you also have some businesses you're invested in. So do you remember what the first project you got involved with was? The first business that you invested in, bought, started, whatever?
First business that I started and invested in was my own. And it definitely failed at first.
As they all do, right? Don't worry. You're definitely not in the own boat on that one.
Learn that early.
No, it was a great learning experience. And it's something that I still kind of do, but it definitely didn't work how I wanted it to, but it definitely set a great base for what I'm doing now. What I did was I ended up writing a program, and it took me a long time to do it. And then I was going to start one of those like coaching businesses that you see everyone doing.
Yeah.
I say it failed because I just never gave it the time that it needed. I never I can't say that my heart was fully in it.
Yeah, that hurt.
It was no, and then no, I just. But the first one was definitely my own failure, but it definitely taught me a lot of things. One being that I 100% need a team. I cannot do everything on my own because it was a business of one.
Right.
Oh yeah, it was just like most people. But at that time, I was not in the right space to trust other people with what I was doing, and I was very hard-headed. I was like, I'm resilient, I'm strong, I can do anything on my own. I don't need help. And I then went out and tried to do everything on my own, and it was
life
brutal.
Beats the crap out of you.
Oh, it beat the crap out of me.
So it happens. Yeah. Yeah. But you learn early, that's a good thing. I think that in pro sports, probably not that the team wants to like get you unfocused on what you're trying to do, which is basically win for them. Right. But I think it would go a long way to teach guys some business skills to say, hey, if you've been in the league 3 to 5 years, let's say, maybe we ought to have a seminar about life after football. Cause what's the average? You were a linebacker, right? Yeah. So what's the average life of a linebacker in the league?
It was.
So, right. What is it? 3 to 5 years, maybe?
I think it's like 2.5.
Yeah. So there you go.
2.5. Yeah. It's not long.
2.5. You can't even get a business started in 2.5 years. It takes a while to get it going,
Yeah.
So
it takes a while. Yeah. They definitely, they do a lot of things now where they'll have workshops for entrepreneurs and teach you some financial literacy. But I feel like a lot of this stuff I had to figure out on my own, and I had to figure out by screwing stuff up.
Yeah.
Big time. And getting around the right people. That was another thing.
Definitely being around the right people. That's why I try to spend as little time with Trevor and Mike as I can, because they just drag me down.
I know. Every time we talk, it's when we collectively get lower.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about, Reg, was like we talk about the transition period, right? So you mentioned some things about financial literacy and things that are very important to understand in business, but collectively programs out there to help athletes turn into entrepreneurs, or they're already entrepreneur athletes, to kind of hone their craft. You had to do it by a lot of us. Like, you got to hit a brick wall. I only hit it a few times. Why are my knuckles bloody? All right, now if I use a sledgehammer, I get through it. It's just, that's how you learn. I think that there's not a lot of these programs out there. And it's one of the reasons why, I think working together and trying to understand things, it's really going to excel for everyone. I'm curious, when you made that leap out of like, I'm not doing this anymore and I'm going full time into my own, what was that like? That was like, hey, I don't have the backstop anymore. Like, just like me as an entrepreneur, when I stopped working full time, it's like, wow, I do not have a backstop anymore. Where is the safety net? How do I, build the business in such a way? What was that like for you, from your perspective?
Ooh, it was scary. It was very scary because when I retired, I knew I wanted to be done. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I was done with it, over it. But when it came to taking that next step, really figuring out what I wanted to do, it took me a while. I knew that I wanted to do something to help athletes. I knew that I wanted to try my hand at many things. I knew that I was very curious about a lot of things. So I really sat for a while and tried to figure out how could I do all these things. And then eventually I just got to the point where I was like, well, I'm just going to do what I'm best at. And that's screwing shit up and then figuring it out. And then I'll figure it out after I screw it up a couple of times. So I kind of just took a leap. And that's just how I do things. I'm good at just, you know how you hear and like the lean startup where they talk about the build, measure, learn, feedback loop. I feel like that's kind of how I've always done things. Like, I will kind of shittily build something and then I'll measure how it goes, and then I'll measure it, and then when I hit it again, then I'm good.
Right. Well, you're testing. You're testing along the way.
Yeah, I've always been that way. I
Right.
have to screw something up first.
Well, but that reduces your
get
chance of
nerves.
failure. You know, I mean, if you just think it's going to always work and don't figure out the problems, you probably fail because there's things. But if you test it like that, that's a good business approach. Look, I'm sure there's a lot of guys who, like you said, you got to figure it out because nobody tells them. Well, that's why the failure rate's very high, because most of these guys don't have the intuition that you have that says, hey, I want to do whatever you're doing, which I guess you'll get into in a minute. How do I limit my failure rate? By testing things out and figure out which is right and which is wrong. A lot of people don't do that. And then they just keep going. They keep failing. They keep going, and they're not figuring out what they're doing wrong and how to fix it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you think you're just figuring it out and you're just trying shit, but those are good business principles.
Yeah, I know. That what I've had to realize is I have to screw something up first, because the thing about any situation is, I'm an overanalyzer, and I've had to realize that no matter how much overanalyzing I do, whenever I go into a situation, I'm always going to get hit over the head by something that you couldn't have thought about, something that you couldn't have seen, couldn't have foretold, and it usually is something that completely changes the whole dynamic of a situation in general. It's just, I feel like my experience. So I really feel like I have to analyze something for a little bit, and then once I take a leap, I get hit over the head by some unknown thing, and then whatever I come out with the next, that's the thing that's always going to work. But it's,
But that's not a surprise to you. I mean, you're expecting it, so you're going in.
No.
You have the right expectation. Yeah. You're like, you'd probably be surprised if it did work. You'd be like, wow, look at that. Yeah.
No, I'm very good at after I screw something up first. I'm very good at re-leveling things. I made a career out of that.
Yeah, it's definitely a good skill. So what things are you doing now? What kind of businesses are you involved with now?
Right now, we're finalizing this one little part, but we're gonna end up being involved with a esports facility out here in Kansas City. There is going to be a sports bar and grill, esports arena, sports bar and grill, bar and event space. We're going to open that up out here in the next 2-3 months. Going to be a partner in that. I'm helping with some of the sales of another online platform called Athletes Book. We're going to be doing that pretty soon. I have going to be helping. Matter of fact, I have 3 other things, but I should not say those because
it's all right.
They're still on the pot.
But what I will say, and I wish this was. We'll probably get everything done this week. But one is with the esports organization, with helping promoting a program that they're doing, and we're going to get a couple things from that. Let me see here. I have an app that I'm helping develop and get it into the right hands. Hopefully, with there's another company in pharma. We're trying to get that situated. Hopefully, we can get that done this week. But a lot of things besides that stuff, we're finalizing the negotiations literally this week. But that's what I'm doing currently. But usually, what I do is either I help connect someone for a fee or for equity or whatever. I'm just a plain and simple consultant. I guess that's what you call it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're connecting guys. You get involved. You're not the main guy. You're not going to run the. No. Right. You're not going to run the restaurant. You're not running the facility. No. You're going to help promote it and so forth.
Resources they need. I can help them strategize because we're tied to some of the best strategists in the country, and then I get businesses basically what they need, or I can connect them with who they need, resources they need. They need as far as they need strategists. It's a very broad thing, but it's really not. It's just, what do you guys need, and then I go find it. and I can find more things than not better than most people. So, and it's something that, you know, it's always a weird question getting it. I mean, it's always weird getting asked this, like, what are you? Like, what do you do? And I'm always just saying, I'm kind of
struggling
just a
with that,
guy.
right?
Do a lot of
no, but that's
things.
a lot. That's a consult. You know, you're the linchpin. So how
Yeah.
do these guys find you? Or how do you find them?
Usually LinkedIn, or people know people, or I did work with someone and they refer me to someone, but a lot of it I get off of LinkedIn.
Oh.
It has been money for me.
It's
been I've absolutely destroyed on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's been really a pretty big boost, I think, in a lot of people's networking and connections in 2020. I mean, listen, we were able to meet. Like, I met Reggie through an event, and we had a great relationship. And you know, it starts all with LinkedIn when you think about it. Not that we're promoting it, just saying as a platform to kind of drive some of those extra connections. Kind of interesting.
Okay, so we'll all send Reggie a LinkedIn request. We'll connect with him.
Yeah,
decline them all, Reggie. Don't listen to it. Decline.
Yeah. And staying connected, absolutely. So Reggie, let me ask you this: when looking at some of your peers from the NFL, ones that are getting out now or might have retired last year or this coming year, are you working with any of them just based upon your experience, you know, within the past 5 years since you retired? Because I could see it as just such a value add because you've already been through a lot of these things, right? Like, yeah, you went through a lot of these experiences, and I 100% agree with you. Is that you have to go through it, and there's things that you can analyze, and there's things that you can't expect that are going to come up kind of along the way. Do you work with any of your peers from the NFL that are retiring now?
I give advice to certain guys. I'll tell you guys after the call, but at some period, I mean, sometime soon, I will be helping them out in a bigger capacity. I'll tell you guys what it is afterwards. Can't say it on camera, but most of it's advice, but a lot of it, to be completely honest with you, the NFL community in itself, former players, we're not very connected with one another. Well, we are, but we're not. A lot of us are a lot of the same guy. We've done a ton of stuff on our own. We haven't had a ton of help from a lot of people. So when it comes down to trust, we're not very trusting guys. And when it comes down to looking for help, we're not very good at it. So they try to do things to make it better, but for the most part, a lot of us just really aren't connected. But I do help people whenever I can. I make myself available, and then I'll have guys hit me up from time to time. But something definitely happened last week. I'll tell you afterwards, but I think that's going to put me in a position to help more guys.
I mean, to a certain extent, you kind of understand, right? The team's a business. The owners own a company, and they bring guys in to perform their job, and then you leave and they bring new guys in. So, you know, but it's not, they make a career out of it, their whole life, their family's life, multi-generations, and the players don't. So, you know, there should be those support systems in there.
Yeah. Plus this is so toxic with, you know, there's a lot of people trying to take advantage of you constantly, and you have to constantly be on guard. And then after a while, you just kind of get get used to being, you know, secluded and on the defensive.
Yeah, you're protective of yourself. People both
Very
inside the league and outside the league, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, both. Yeah, you're constantly, you got your Ginsu knives up.
Right, exactly. Well, look, it's no different. I deal with a lot of doctors, a lot of spine surgeons. They make, you know, good money during their career. They get deals across their desk. They're ridiculous. Some of them. They're like, "What do you think of this?" I'm like, "Don't put your money in this," you know, because when you have money and you have some success, people find you through other people.
Oh yeah,
you know?
They come out the woodwork.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, that's why like lotto winners lose all their money because they have no wherewithal. They just came into all this money all of a sudden, and then everyone, their grandmother, wants a loan from them, invest in this, and then they make bad decisions out of money in 5 years. So that's definitely
Oh, yeah.
something that I think, but I understand you be guarded because, people just, they want the spotlight. They want to, connect to your train,
Yeah.
and they want to use your money, and it's not, it doesn't work that way. So, a lot of
Yeah, your money or influence to get from point A to point
networks.
B.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but the thing is about it that I had to see with this consulting stuff is, there's actually a lot of good, genuine people that come across, come my way. And I'm not as on the defense as I used to be.
Good.
And I'm glad that I'm not, because because I would have really left a lot of money out on the table, and I really would have left some of these really great connections that I've made with people since I've been done. They would have never happened if I didn't open up. But I get the situation that they're in, but like I said, we're just not too connected as a community. We're all kind of like little islands of ourselves. So it's, given the situation, I understand. Like, I had a guy approach me about a deal from like at a gas station, and he like followed me. He like followed me.
He just knew you as a player and he followed you?
10 blocks and knew who I was, and he just knew who I was, but this is like a regular thing, not
But
someone
that's
pitch you
stalking,
idea,
Reggie.
but you'll get people pitch you ideas all the time.
That's
Yeah,
stalking.
that is stalking.
That's not pitching. It's like, Reggie,
Yeah.
Dude.
Well, talking.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Pitching, stalking.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
I think it's so important to
I don't
kind
know
of
that
grow
part.
that trusted and vetted network, Reg. I mean, you and I talk about that a lot, right? I think, one of the reasons that Mitch, myself, Mike, we all created this business model was to kind of, we're very collaborative. We all work with inside each other. I think we know all our strengths and weaknesses, but it's very transparent, and I think the farther you keep that ecosystem and grow a little bit in a community, not just a network, then you can kind of, hey, listen, now that you've met Mitch and Mike, maybe there's an opportunity there's collaborations down the road, just kind of like what we're doing, and I think that's step by step. That's how you kind of build a house.
Yeah, don't do business with a guy who approaches you at a gas station. Is that what you're saying?
I think
Yeah,
the
maybe
model
not.
at the end of this episode is never do business with someone who approaches you at a gas station.
Unless he's trying to give you his mixtape, then maybe. I don't know.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, but yeah, like my business partner is he's a guy I used to play with. He's my best friend, and he was one of those connections that I formed when I played, and we have a very high level of trust. And usually, but having that, going through that vetting process, and that's why it is one of those. It's so important to me to vet everything.
Right.
Vet everything, look through everything, because I'm still not that trusting of a guy, but in business it's a great thing.
Well, skepticism is good in business. So you have your best friend.
Yeah.
The two of you vet things together, and you can bounce ideas off of, and you don't have to make your own decisions.
No, yeah, we got a team. It's me, him, and then we have two other guys, and they're better at vetting things than us. So once we're kind of like the first level, and then once an opportunity we think is good enough, we'll bring it to them, and then they'll vet it further through their resources. But no, I don't. No, yeah, I'm very skeptical of everything.
Right.
So
yeah, I've seen more things blow up for the craziest reasons you can't think of.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, and it's always the little things are big things.
And it's
That's what
usually
It
the
makes
things
a
you
lot of
least
sense.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's part of the process, being skeptical about anything that comes up. I think it's important because that's really a function of analyzing it, right? And plugging holes in it, and understanding the, everything what you're getting involved with.
Yeah. I find when you're reviewing deals. No, go ahead, Reggie. Go ahead.
No, I think you guys could probably attest to this too. Like being skeptical about something, but that gut feeling, when you're talking to someone and you're just like,
Something's off here.
Something. Yeah, just
Yeah.
whenever, like, really paying attention to that, Oh, I feel like that's probably looked out for me more times than not. I was there was a deal that I was going to get into while I was back in Colorado. Is a lot of money to be made, a lot of land to be purchased, and I'm not going to go into it because what ended up happening was it was in the medical marijuana industry. We were going to open up a facility and then get a dispensary, and then it was going to get some land. It's supposed to be a big thing. But what ended up happening was I just, something about it just didn't rub me the right way.
This is after it became legal. It was legal in Colorado, right?
It was fully legal at the time, Colorado.
Yeah. Right.
And what ended up happening was the guys that I was about to jump in with, one of them, he's in jail now. He's doing 10 years for fraud. They were taking all the investors' money and using it on their own stuff. Another guy, he's not here anymore. In this reality anymore, you could say.
Yeah. Like on this earth.
And it was this, and another guy, he lost all his money. And so stuff like that, you have situations like that happen, and because of that, I always stick to my gut.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I was involved in a deal years ago, and there was multiple attorneys. I mean, we were all vetting the deals for the investors, and at the end of the day, there were corporate papers that were forged. There were buildings, like the guys were brought on tours of facilities and things like that these guys didn't own. They broke in and they made it look like they were theirs. And at the end of the day, it was a total scam. It was some sort of I forget what it was, a warehousing type of a business. But, you go in there and the guy says, yeah, well, this is this, that you're like, wow, you look at this, the papers all check out. They had these companies set up where there were dummy companies, but they were real companies. They just weren't doing anything. So the paperwork checked out. And these guys took, a couple of $1 million from each of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day, because you can't,
Oh, yeah. You got to be very, very careful out here. Very careful.
You can't be too careful. That's also another reason why you need a team. Like Trevor and I are reviewing some deals now, and some things that just don't make sense to us, regardless of what they tell us, what they give us. It just it doesn't add up. Like, well, why would that number be going down? And we're looking at some inventory things, and it's just you got to be real. You got to be real careful about it. I've looked at a lot of deals over the years, been involved in stuff that have been nuts.
That also goes to testament of what we talked about with trusted networks, Mitch. I mean, think about it. You and I are able to kind of collaborate where, 2 years ago we couldn't, where we didn't know each other, but, we kind of evaluate a deal and look at it from different perspectives. Like Mike and I have a similar situation where we're looking at things at the future level. Like Mike is very good at building that all end look, and then working your way backwards to present day where I can get involved and help, and Mitch can get involved. And that's that collaboration mechanism we were talking about earlier. So
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
For sure.
You involved in any real estate deals, Reggie? Or is there usually a real estate component?
Not currently at the moment. Not currently. I would say no.
So the Esports facility is not. Is that?
It's not. I don't think they own the real estate. No,
we're just leasing the building.
On the real estate.
That must be a challenge starting something like that with a restaurant and everything and coming out of COVID. That must be a challenge.
Oh, not in Kansas City.
No, you guys can go anywhere you want. There's no lockdown. People are like, oh, we're going.
Oh, people, I'm just going to say it. People don't give a shit about COVID. Like, they care here about COVID, but they care more about drinking. They just don't care, man.
Just another virus, right?
They're whatever. This isn't like the South. It's more. It's conservative, but it's not like we don't have a lot of idiots here. People just. It's just not that big of a deal to them, and they're like, "Well, if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. I know I'm gonna not. I don't know." So,
yeah, well, look, if it fits the business model, it would be hard to start in New Jersey right now. I would tell you that.
Oh no, yeah, bars here, they're fine.
Yeah,
bars are fine. The bars are fine.
Everything here is closed. Can't.
Yeah,
You know.
most restaurants here they're starting to bounce back, but bars are fine. Bars will always be fine in Kansas City.
Yeah, well,
Count
you
on
know,
that.
I remember when this whole thing started and they locked us down, they kept the liquor stores open. I'm like, how is that essential? They go, well, if all the people that drink don't get their liquor, they're going to be real upset. They're going to end up in the hospital. So we got to keep the liquor stores open. I'm like, you do?
Yeah, that's essential for the world.
Right, exactly. That's how we get through it. And then, you know, recycling day comes and you learn which one of your neighbors is a wino, right? They got buckets of wine bottles and bourbon bottles and, you know, everything they're drinking.
Oh yeah, I think the best part was seeing the parents stumbling around in the morning Zoom calls for their kids. You're like, yeah, Lucy had a long night over there.
Yeah, well, I think people weren't pacing themselves. They didn't think it would be going this long.
No, I don't think anyone knew it was going this long, and it's still going.
Yeah, I know. We got people now getting vaccines. My parents are in their 70s. They just got scheduled this month sometime. I don't know. So maybe I'll be able to see them by Easter, Passover. Yeah, we're starting to. I mean, we're not. We're all going to be the last group, but you know, the old people are, and the frontline workers are getting them. So you know, same by you.
Yeah, see how they at some point, but I'm just running and keeping myself away from people until that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't, especially out here. People don't know. Yeah, no.
Yeah, you're talking about trusting people, right? You can't trust people. You don't know where they've been.
No, especially here.
Yeah, right. You don't know where this guy's been. He could be in a bar last night and another place the night before, right?
Oh, hell yeah. 100%. Hell yeah. Arguing about wearing a mask on Tuesday, bar on Wednesday. Yeah, and they want to be around me on a Thursday. No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You can't get COVID through Zoom, can you? I don't think so. I think we're safe in that regard.
Isn't it in Wisconsin where they're making or is it Michigan? Where's it? Wisconsin where they're forcing them to wear masks through Zoom calls?
I don't know. I know in Wisconsin, the Supreme Court knocked down the governor's order and said you can't tell people not to wear masks. And they all went crazy, went to bars, took their masks off, and they all got sick. But I don't know about Zoom calls. That's pretty funny. You definitely can't get corona. I'm just kidding. You definitely can't get corona through Zoom calls.
No,
so if we're putting this out there, I don't want to mislead people right now.
I know. I feel like it's a possibility. No,
everything's a possibility now. You get like a shoulders bothering you. Someone's like, that could be COVID. I'm like, what? No, I got a sore in my mouth. Yeah, it could be COVID.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could have sworn I probably had it about 7, 8, 9, 10 times.
Yeah,
in the last 5 months. Yeah,
yeah, because you can always find somebody online that says that's a symptom.
Oh yeah.
You know? Your dog sneezing, it might mean you have COVID. What? You know, all that type of stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, our dog was like coughing. I think the dogs can get COVID. I maybe they can, but our dog doesn't have COVID. Doesn't go right in. So I had to take her to the vet. The vet's like, she doesn't have COVID. Come on.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, crazy. All right, so I know we've taken up a lot of Reggie. By the way, Reggie, isn't there another Reggie Walker playing in the league right now? An imposter?
Yeah, for the Arizona Cardinals who went to Kansas State as well. Yep.
Really? Not related to you. So he's an imposter.
Not related at all.
He's an imposter.
So. Okay. Yeah.
He's following in your footsteps, right?
Yeah, whenever someone is like, "Oh, I Googled you," and there's 2 guys, I'm like, "Dude, I'm just the one with the dreadlocks." Like, just remember that.
Well, the other guy's also, I think, like a wide receiver, a tight end or something, right?
Oh no, he plays defense. He's a lot bigger. He's a big guy.
Oh, that makes it worse for you.
Yeah.
He doesn't have dreadlocks?
No.
You better tell him not to grow any.
There's no way people should confuse me with him.
Yeah,
I know he's saying the same thing too.
Yeah, but you played for the same team. You went to the same school. It could get pretty confusing.
Yeah.
Because I did Google you first, and then I was talking to Trevor. I said, I think Reggie's still playing in the league. I think he's like a free agent. He says, no, he's been in the league for like 5 or 6 years. I did some more research, and I said, there's 2 of them. Look at that.
Yeah, there's 2. Yeah, there's 2. And especially since it's crazy because Reggie Walker is not a common. There's like a South African sprinter in, I don't know, like the 1912 or something. That's it. There's hardly any of this. So yeah, just the guy going to Kansas State and getting picked up by Arizona as well. It's
Crazy.
And being undrafted, just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
Very
Google
confusing.
just gets Wikipedia, gets all confused.
Yeah, right.
Mix you guys
Yeah.
up.
Dang Wikipedia.
Well, I want to personally thank you, Reggie, for coming on the show. I want to say appreciate it. I think it's a great conversation we had today. I think many testaments to everybody on the call. If there's anything else, Mitch, Mike, I'd love to kind of hear your final thoughts.
Yeah, well, we'll get some juice from Reggie off camera, but I appreciate it, Reggie. You have any final comments, Mike?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for your time. I think it was very, very insightful in regards to, your journey, right, from the NFL to what you're doing now. So, no, thank you so much for your time.
All right,
No
guys.
problem.
So I appreciate coming on, Reggie. Guys, this has been the first episode of 2021 of Business Talks. We thank you for coming on, Reggie, and we'll look forward to whoever comes on a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let me
Thanks
turn
for
off.